Welcome to the Candidate Forum for 2026. Although this is not a formal meeting, if you would rise, if you're able, for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. So on behalf of the Election Committee and our candidates, welcome to the Candidate Forum. The purpose of today's forum is to provide an opportunity for you to learn more about our candidates and their views so you can make an informed decision when you cast your votes for next year's governing board. Remember, when you vote, you will vote for only 3 candidates who will fill the three three-year positions that are available on the board. And the 4th highest vote-getting candidate will fill the 4th one-year position that was created by a resignation from a prior member. So in consideration, for all participants, would you please either turn your cell phone or your mobile device off or mute it, please? So I'd like to start by introducing our election committee. I'm Kathy Estes, I'm the chair. This is Ron Capriati. He is our vice chair this year and the moderator for this forum. And sitting next to him is Merle Schwebke. She is going to be the reviewer of the questions coming in. Our timers are Judy Thompson and Susan Sagahorn. And our rovers are Leslie Young and Steve, Murray. Yeah. This is the first year I've been on the committee. Most of these people were here before, so I am very grateful to them because they have helped me keep things on track. So Steve is still outside making sure everybody gets a question if you have, or an index card if you have a question. So my thanks to the committee for all your work, and also to our staff advisor, Katie O'Grady, for all of the publicity and working with the vendor to make sure that the day of the election and the election process goes smoothly, and to Karen Repkin for all of her support to us throughout the year for everything she does. So this is how our forum will proceed. Our candidates were briefed earlier and drew numbers. So their order of seating and speaking positions, first on your left to the 4th one on the right. They will each present opening and closing remarks up to 4 minutes. Okay. Questions for today's forum were submitted by community members in advance of the forum, by you, our in-person audience, and by the election committee. If you have a question, ask the rovers for a card if you have not already received one. Hold it up, and one of them will pick up that card and bring it up to the front to our reviewer. The lectern, we do not take questions from the lectern. You must present a card with your question on it, okay? So, audience questions will first be submitted to the reviewer. Merle will review the questions for appropriateness, duplication, and understandability. So please understand if your question isn't asked exactly as written. Due to time, we may not be able to get to all questions. We have allowed 3 hours for the forum. We may not take up that full 3 hours, but we will not go over 3 hours. In the first portion of the forum, the same question will be asked for each candidate. They will have 2 minutes to respond. And in the second portion of the forum, a different question will be asked of each candidate in random order, and the candidate will have up to 2 minutes for their response. Other candidates then will have 1 minute to respond to that answer. Once all the candidates have had the opportunity to be a first responder, we start the random cycle over again. Responses will be timed, and our timer will alert candidates when they have 30 seconds remaining. Judy will also alert when a speaker's time is up. You'll notice that the reverse side of the end time card indicates applause. So if the audience is invited to applause, to remind the speaker that their time is up, okay? I think that's cool. Yeah, okay. So now, let's meet the stars of our forum today. Candidates, if you will please introduce yourself by name only in the order of seating.
Thank you. My name is Alan Schlemmer.
Sandra Forsey.
Ron Patron.
Mike Casanda.
Thank you very much. And now I'd like to turn it over to our moderator, Ron Capriotti, and we can get started. Yes. 4-minute introductions first, and then Ron will start the questions. Alan, if you'd like to get started, please.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you for attending. I also would like to thank the election committee for putting together this forum. I know it's a lot of work, and I would like to thank the recreation centers of Sun City West also for their involvement in putting this forum together. And I'd like to acknowledge the current governing board that is in attendance as well. I first want to start off by saying I really like the other folks sitting at this table. I am really excited about this group. We interact well. We have a lot of great ideas. We don't always agree on everything, but I think we're really a cohesive, aligned team, and I look forward to working with each of them next year in whatever form that may take. My wife and I came from New Hampshire. We came to Sun City West in 2015, so 11 years ago. We did take a brief hiatus where we tried to live closer to the grandkids and realized how much we missed Sun City West, so we came back. And one of the things when I arrived here is I got very intrigued with how all of this came about. So I got involved with the museum. I still am involved both as a docent, a speaker, and as well as on the board. I also got involved with Prides. So I'm one of those chain gang folks with the yellow vests every Saturday morning. And the Sun City West Foundation. I attended the Torch Academy and then served on the Torch Committee. And then I ran for governing board in 2023, as many of you know. Unfortunately, I made the bad decision of going and playing in traffic and was struck by a car while riding my bicycle, so I had to leave. And once my recovery completed, I came back. I really, really love life in Sun City West. And I really believe that when John Meeker built this community, he intended to create a community that would be the gold standard of everything going forward. And I think he really accomplished that, both in terms of the amenities we have and the affordability of the lifestyle we lead. I believe that the role of the board and what I will bring to the board is a three-pronged purpose. First, I think we need to make sure we are doing everything we can to preserve the attributes that have made this community the recognized, high-quality, amenity-laden community that it is. There is a reason we consistently rank among the best retirement communities in the country, and I believe the governing board's role is to help preserve that. I also believe that we have to protect and sustain our reputation of this community as one of the top retirement communities going forward. Work like we're doing now with the master plan and the involvement, the phenomenal involvement of our citizens and our residents in participating in that process will help us lay the framework for where this community goes in moving forward and how we continue to sustain our preeminent role in the rankings of great retirement communities to live in. And the third area is I believe that we need to plan for the future. One of the things that makes Sun City West so great is that it is financially stable. We have solid reserves, stronger reserves than most of our peer communities around the country. And we must make sure that we are now using those assets to make sure that we are preserving the community, as well as appropriately making the changes that come out of the master plan study to adapt the community to the changing demographics of retirement going forward. I think the greatest gift we can give to the next generation is to give them the opportunity to live the lifestyle that we've had the opportunity to live here in Sun City West. I look forward to working with my colleagues here and the colleagues on the governing board going forward, and I thank you for giving me consideration. Thank you very much.
Next is Sandra Forsey.
I've been serving on the governing board for this past year. I've lived here in Sun City West for probably 8-ish years. And, you know, it's interesting. My focus and what it's always been is to protect and preserve what Sun City was designed for. And yesterday I had an interesting experience. I went to one of the rec centers and I spoke with a lady that has lived here for 37 years and she was being a monitor. And she told me she was on the board back 37 years ago, basically. And she told me just how when they finished, Del Webb finished, they just kind of got it handed to them, and the growing pains that they had. And she said that she had Russ Boston. She says, I can't remember if they were cardboard or if they were wooden, but I had a plumber, and I had an electrician, and I had a painter, and I had a janitor. And she said, I did a presentation to anybody that wanted to come to just kind of let people know that these things don't happen by themselves. There are so many toilets, there's so many this, so many that. And it was interesting to just hear of the evolution of the board. I mean, Katie O'Grady and Russ both were back in the day with her. They look a little younger. But anyway, it was just interesting to hear her tell me about the growing pains that they dealt with and similarities, kind of how some of us kind of forget that somebody does this and all we see is what's wrong instead of gratitude for what looks right. And I very much appreciate being here. I think my three things that I focus on is our fiscal responsibility, enhancing amenities and programs, and then communication and community involvement. So from there, yesterday morning, after I met with her, I came up here and I was running a little bit late for the meeting, parked my car, tripped over the curb, landed in the gravel spot between the two noses of the cars. I had full audience in two cars. They were getting ready to back up. One got out and she had Band-Aids and how to fix this and how to fix that. And the other one said, you okay, you hurt? And I said, just my pride. But just the gratitude that I felt of people here really do care about each other. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the connections that are here. I appreciate when I see different things that people randomly have quietly or privately done for this or that person. And I think Sun City West is a great place for all of us to grow old. Not that any of us will, but I just really believe in Sun City West. Thank you.
Next is Ron Petrin.
Thank you, Mr. Capriati. Good morning, and thanks to all of you for being here, as well as those watching from home. I'd like to also thank the Election Committee and the Rec Centers of Sun City West for sponsoring this forum today. My name is Ron Petrin, and I've had the privilege of calling Sun City West my home since January of 2023. Like many of you, I chose this community because it offers something special, a place where people care about each other, where we look out for our neighbors, and where we continually work to keep our community strong, vibrant, and well-managed. Over the years, I've been involved in a variety of activities and clubs here in Sun City West. I'm the former president of the Spanish Club, former vice president and now current president of Sun City West Silvercraft Club, and I've graduated from the Torch Academy like many of my colleagues here. Those experiences have given me a deep appreciation for volunteers, staff, and residents who make everything run smoothly. They've also given me a clear understanding of both the strengths we enjoy and the challenges we face as we continue to grow and evolve. My professional background includes owning and operating a successful community pharmacy for over 35 years, serving on public and nonprofit boards, teaching science and higher education, publishing in pharmacy peer-reviewed journals, and leading community organizations. Additionally, I was president of the New Hampshire Board of Pharmacy. Both Alan and I are from New Hampshire and proud of it, and served on that state board for 10 years. I've also been a member of my local YMCA board. I've helped establish local crime lines, stopper programs, as well as several other community-based programs. I'm running for the board because I believe in responsible stewardship. That means managing our resources wisely, planning and ensuring that decisions are made with transparency and input from the people who live here. It also means protecting our amenities, programs, and services that make Sun City West exceptional, while keeping our community financially healthy and future ready. My approach is simple: listen carefully, communicate openly, act thoughtfully. I believe good leadership starts with respect for people's time, their expertise, and their point of view. Once elected, I'll work to ensure that every resident feel heard, informed, and confident of how our community is being managed. This is particularly important now because our next board will be tasked with a new master plan that's being developed and engaged in setting the direction of Sun City West down its path to the future. I also believe strongly in encouraging participation. Sun City West thrives when residents are engaged, when committees are supported, and when every voice has the opportunity to contribute. Whether we're addressing long-term facility planning, recreational needs, or fiscal decisions, I want to help create an environment where collaboration, not confusion, is the norm. In closing, I want to thank you for your time, your involvement, and your commitment to make Sun City West the best it can be. I'm running for the board because I care deeply about this community, and I believe I can help guide it forward with integrity, transparency, and common sense leadership. I'd be honored to earn your support and your vote. Thank you very much, and remember, it's Ron Petrin.
Next is Mike Casanda.
My name is Mike Casanda, and I'm running for a position on the governing board. I'm a native North Dakotan, born in Fargo, and received my degree from the University of North Dakota with a double major in history and political science. I started working for the Great Northern Railroad, a predecessor of the BNSF, in 1969, and retired in 2009 after 40-plus years in various capacities. These included working in the roundhouse, switchman, brakeman, conductor, and locomotive engineer in Grand Forks, North Dakota. I was the head of the union for the engineers for part of this time. In 1981, I was appointed to a management position in operations and served in various capacities in Montana, Washington, Colorado, and Wyoming. Responsibilities for these positions included overseeing the safe and efficient operation of train movements within rail yards and along designated routes. My daily responsibilities included coordinating assignments, monitoring train schedules, and ensuring compliance with federal and company rules. Expertise in signal systems and railroad operations and emergency response protocols were necessary parts of this job. I also hired several hundred people for operating jobs during my later years and had budgetary responsibility for my territory as well. The longest territory that I had was 700 miles from Billings, Montana to Texline, Texas. In 2010, my wife Janet and I bought a home in Sun City West to escape the cold winters of North Dakota. We bought in Sun City West because of all the amenities and the great value of the community. We like all the facilities, the various clubs, and the proximity of shopping and healthcare. I immediately joined several clubs and have been active in them. These include computer, art, railroad, tennis, and photography. My interests include golf, billiards, platform tennis, racquetball, table tennis, and of course tennis. I have held officer and board positions in some of these clubs also. I've been involved in many service clubs through the years, and the earliest club that I belonged to was the American Legion, which I've been in for over 50 years. They do so much for our veterans. I recently joined Prides after having visited there and seeing all the good things that they do for the community. I've been on several committees, election, long-range planning, and properties for the last 2 years. I attend governing board meetings and committee meetings often and watch many meetings online when I cannot attend in person. I attended my first governing board and committee meeting in 2011. I've been a resident for over 15 years and have had good relationships with several board members and department heads in the Recreation Center during this time. If elected to the board, I feel we must maintain the assets of the community to a high standard while at the same time being fiscally responsible. I believe for the most part, recent boards have done a good job of managing these expectations. One thing I am strongly opposed to is allowing certain parts of the community fall below the maintenance standards that are essential for a great community. I feel my background would be a good fit to be a director on the governing board, and I ask for your support, and I would also like to thank the committee for doing all this work. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidates, for all those introductions, and we will now move on to the question portion of our forum today. And first question will be answered first by Alan Schwemmer and then move down the line accordingly. And that first question is, what do you see as future challenges in Sun City West and how would you address them? Alan.
Thank you, Ron. It's a great question. And I think all of us in our opening comments have talked a little bit about it. I think one of the challenges that our community faces is that we are an older community. And, you know, we're right now 47 years old, give or take. We're going to reach our 50th anniversary year coming up. And I think the real challenge for us is to make sure that we're doing all the right things to sustain the assets that we have, to sustain the amenities, the recreation centers, the clubs and activities, and so forth, as well as make sure that we are doing all the right things to maintain our competitive advantage. And I mean that, a competitive advantage to any other communities that are being built that want to challenge us. One of the great things about Sun City West is that at 50 years old, we are still very vibrant. We are still very desired. And, you know, at the GM Ops meeting, Katie O'Grady shared some results of a survey they did. And one of the things that impressed me is the high percentage, over a third of our residents come here, they don't consider any other place. I want to make sure we continue to have that advantage and make sure that we're making the adjustments we need through the master plan process and so forth to maintain the competitive advantage we have. That'll be our biggest challenge. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Sandra?
I think Alan's pretty much said it all. No, you know, but that's what I appreciate too, the board and the different people that are helping us to look to the future, to preserve and to keep Sun City West what it is, because we are aging a little bit. And, you know, sometimes you might need a little more makeup on a building or whatever it is. But it's just helping everybody to see that there's a value and there's a need to make things look better, to keep things up to date. They can look at neighboring communities and see what happens when things haven't been maintained. And I've appreciated the financials of how well Sun City West has been managed and run from the early days on. But I just think it'll be all of us working together. It'll be one of the bigger challenges to have everybody understand each other.
Okay. Thank you. Ron, you're next.
Thank you. Seeing this format, it's getting easier as you come down the line because they pretty much said everything. But I would like to add that we're almost 50. Our residents are a lot older than that, and we're starting to see a younger generation come in. I know I was at Kohl's the other day returning something from Amazon. There was a lady in front of me, and she couldn't get her QR code to return her stuff. And this younger man, probably in his 50s, walked up and showed how to use it on the phone. I think that's what we're going to be faced with. One of our biggest challenges is that split in generation. The greatest generation, the boomers, that's a thinning group now in our community. We're starting to get the Gen X's, Gen Z's, and the millennials and the X's, and they're all real tech savvy. They don't go anywhere without their phone. I'm sure some of you here have your phones with you, but probably some of you just don't carry your phone around with you. And that whole technology is changing. So I think part of our growth, part of our sustainability is going to be to merge these two totally different worlds, the worlds of technology and the worlds of I need to go to the member services to buy a ticket because I can't do it online. I'm very sensitive to that. I want to be sure that as we progress and grow, that we keep both of those lanes clearly running smoothly. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike?
Last but not least, I agree with everything that has been said by the previous people. A couple of things that I am concerned about. Kuntz, for one. That is an example of where we didn't do a very good job. That has sat there in a bad condition for a while, and we cannot allow that to happen in the future because we'll get too far behind. That's a big ticket item. You know, it's probably $1 million project that we're going to be talking about in the master plan, I believe. But we have to be watchful of all this facilities that are around because being on the properties committee, we see a lot of the day-to-day type stuff, and we report it, and some of it's not real expensive to fix, and then some of it is real big, you know, so it's a balancing act, trying to keep our funds solvent and get the work done in the community, you know, and I think we have done a fairly good job of it, but, you know, things are getting older and it's getting tougher. So the future might be a challenging thing, and I think with the people like my candidate friends here, we're going to work hard to try to make it a good deal for the community. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next question, and first to answer this one will be Sandra. Question is, what do you hope the master plan will accomplish?
I actually am quite excited about the master plan because it gives us all a direction, a future. We're planning all along for the things that we want to have happen instead of maybe doing something and then wishing we would have done it different because now we're going to do this with it. So I think I very much appreciate the value that the master plan is bringing, which is the planning and the guidance that it has for all of us, you know, and I hope that we each can look at that, go online, read about it, and just kind of capture the vision of what it really is.
Okay, thank you. Ron?
Would you repeat the question?
Certainly. What do you hope the master plan will accomplish?
I hope the master plan is going to give us direction. There's a lot of things that need to be done, and I think it's going to help set priorities of what gets done first. I don't want to go down a path of fixing something because it needs repair, only to realize that 2 or 3 years later, that facility or that need is no longer there. So I'm looking for that long-range plan to say, how do we do things in what order?
Okay, Mike?
The master plan should provide us with a time frame where we can do an orderly plan to take the projects in an orderly manner. You know, a lot of times, like, we're looking at budgets and stuff now, and we've got a big list currently that's almost too much. So we're going to have to do some hard decisions, and that's not going to be easy to do without a plan. You know, right now they just all show up, and then we have to try to figure out how to manage it and move on down the road. And the master plan should eliminate a lot of that, I believe. I think it also kind of gives us a direction as to where we're going to go for the future. You know, you'll be able to plan ahead and decide, well, we're going to do this project in this year and the next project the next year, and then hopefully we'll have enough money to take care of all of it.
All right. Thank you very much. Our third question will be answered first by Ron. Oh, I'm sorry. It didn't take me long to do that. Alan, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Definitely last but not least. The master plan is a great strategic process and will help the board be able to make decisions that really are the result of the involvement of the community. If you think about what a governing board is, we are the voice of you. And one of the things I'm very impressed with the master plan is that the consulting firm we used and the way it was put together really was driven to involve your ideas with the storyboards that are out there, the focus groups and so forth, so that we as a board are taking essentially what you are telling us and then determining through whatever collaborative process what gets done next. It is a great strategic process. And I really do, I think one of my colleagues said it, the real challenge will be after the plan is written, is then diving in and figuring out what comes first, what comes next, and so forth. But I really think the real gem of the master plan will be its ability to give us a strategic focus on the board of how we prepare this community moving forward.
Thank you. All right, the next question will be started off by Ron, and the question is, acknowledging that the rec centers in Sun City West and the governing board is a separate entity from PORA, do you believe PORA has value in our community? Ron, you're first.
Well, that's controversial. In light of the recent happenings, I think PORA has a value to our community. It's separate from us. I think the problem is PORA is having a hard time identifying what its benefits are to the community. I appreciate the fact that PORA is the Sun City West Visitor Center, but I think that Sun City West should be our own visitor center. And PORA should be more involved in greater community activities, like the BNSF railroad issue, like the utilities rate, water problems, that kind of stuff. Things that are more regional in nature that affect us all.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
Well, PORA seems to have kind of lost its way along the way. When I first moved here in 2010, there were a lot of classes, programs. They had a visitor center. If you had a problem with your property, you could go there and get a plat, and they could advise you as to people that could do work on your property. They could also advise you of the rules and regulations that were necessary to do any construction projects or building projects on your property. And all of that seems to have kind of slowly but surely disappeared. They had the CC&Rs for a long time, and then we took it over. And the classes have disappeared. For the longest while, I belonged to PORA initially, and then they never sent a renewal form out, and I kind of forgot about them. Well, then a couple years ago, when they said they were hurting for money, and I realized that I wasn't paying my dues, so I immediately rejoined, because I do believe that there's a process for them. I think they are our best liaison with government agencies and laws and regulations that are forthcoming from the different outfits, so I think they need to be here. So that's my theory on it.
Okay. Alan?
Thank you. I absolutely want PORA to succeed, and I think they need to. And I think now more than ever, the role of PORA is greater than it probably ever has been. And I say that simply because I believe PORA, in their true role, is the voice of the community outward into legislative and government actions, rate increases, EPCOR water issues, and things like that. The reason it's more important now than ever is if you think about when Sun City West was built and when PORA was formed, Surprise was not the size it is today, and the population around us is growing rapidly. The voice of the retirement communities, while strong, needs to be as loud as it was originally, because we are now very much outnumbered by the multi-generational population that is booming all around us. We need an organization like PORA to continue to do the things that are in their mission to carry our voices out and to be heard legislatively. The rec centers rightfully should be focused on providing you the lifestyle and the amenities for your enjoyment and for your pursuits. PORA needs to continue so that it can be the voice of us when we need to get our voice out there and be heard.
And Sandra.
Really a culmination of what everyone else has said. I mean, it's an interesting question because there's been a lot of information on the news, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I do think they've kind of lost their way and their purpose, because we do need someone or something that is following what changes might be affecting Sun City West. You know, what do we need to be aware of? they've, in the past, have done some really good things with whether it was helping to get a road ran a little different way, you know, not helping to not have water rate increases and so forth. And I think we definitely need PORA.
Okay, very good. All right, our next question, we'll start off with Mike, and the question is, considering the changing demographics, provide specific examples of how you believe the rec centers must adapt for future generations.
Well, changing demographics, the younger people are coming in and they're more techie than we are, obviously. And they're going to probably like different sports. They're probably going to like doing different social things in a different manner than we do. We used to have a lot of dance clubs here, and some of the dance clubs are starting to disappear because some of the younger ones don't dance as much. I think we're going to have some challenges as to what we need to do to be an asset to their wishes. I'm not sure how that's all going to turn out because it's still early, but I can see it coming fairly quickly, you know. So I believe that we've addressed that as time has gone on since I've been here, but it's starting to get to be a lot bigger issue now, I think.
Okay, thank you. Alan?
Thank you. I think Mike touched on this, and I want to elaborate a little bit as well. You know, I think as we've evolved over the 50 years, we have adapted already, and you need to look no further than pickleball. You know, when Sun City West was built, pickleball didn't exist, and then you now see all the pickleball courts that we have. So that's some of the adaptation. But I also think we need to be cognizant of the changes in the demographic of the retirees coming in. They're going to be working longer. So they're going to be also working remotely from home. So the ability to have spaces and opportunities for them to interact on their terms, looking at the hours of our operations and things of that nature. But I think the real adaptation is something that Mike already talked about. And that is, I think we need to really drive up our use of technology and make sure that we're communicating not just with the new folks coming in, but this benefits all of us. The ability to go quickly and find out what's going on today, right now in Sun City West, find those activities and be able to go to them simply by looking at your cell phone or a Sun City West app or something of that nature. All of those, I think, are things that will come out of the master plan process, but we have to continue to evolve to meet not just the new residents coming in, but the current residents here in the ways and on the terms and then using the technology that benefits them most.
Okay, thank you. Sandra?
I think a big part is listening and observing, because I hate to say it, but they are a little different than me, you know. So I'm kind of realizing that this is sort of their niche, and I need to understand better what it is that they like to do. Like Alan mentioned, the master plan, they're investigating, and we've also been talking as the directors of what we can do to keep our rec centers and Sun City West current to be able to meet the needs of the younger ones coming in. And it's going to be a challenge, but I think we're up to it. And just like the changes in a couple of different clubs that I am in, with people that still maybe are working, the clubs have opened up to where they might be open a couple of evenings a week, or they might do something on Saturdays. I think being flexible like that is imperative.
Thank you. Ron?
Echoing my colleagues here, I agree with everything that's been said. I think technology is really important. We'll be rolling out a new website and a phone app soon for the rec centers. And I think that's going to be important because the younger generation really rely on that kind of technology. Hopefully it's going to be easy enough that the current residents will still be able to manage with that kind of technology. As Sandra mentioned, club hours I think are important. Silvercraft just opened up Wednesday nights now and Saturdays and Sundays, because if you're home working as a lot of these newer generation people are. You know, back in the day, you'd work until 65, you'd count the days when you were retiring. Now, you know, people in their 50s, 55s, they're cutting back on work, they're working remotely, they have time, but they still have to work some business hours. So being open nights and weekends, I think, is going to be important. I think the rec center's got to review our hours. But at the same time, with a change in technology, we need to remember to keep in focus the seniors that have difficulty with technology and still make manual options available for those people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next question, define the governing board's role in fiscal responsibility. And we'll start with Alan.
You gave me the nice, easy question, right?
You lost the draw on that one.
I think the governing board, as I've said, the governing board role is to listen to the residents, to work with the staff here, and to be the strategic organization of the community, to be always looking forward, looking at what's coming next. I think paramount to our role is to make sure we're doing all of the things that meet all of our operating expenses, meet all of the required investments we need to make, and make sure we're sustaining the reserve value of this organization. Because that is really our lifeblood, is our ability to be able to withstand the issues that come facing us as we move forward in times where there is peril or crisis or things of that nature. I look at other communities like ours, and you don't have to go too far to find an older Sun City type community that didn't succeed. And the reason they didn't succeed was because they didn't sustain their financial integrity in such a way that they could continue the forward momentum of the community. I think every day, every governing board member should be focused on how we are sitting financially, what are we doing to maintain our affordability, and what are we doing to preserve the community for the future. I think it's really that simple.
Thank you. Sandra?
I mentioned earlier, I'm very impressed with how Sun City West has managed their finances, and everything is how they've grown with how they needed to grow. I think key is protecting the reserves. And I also think finding a way, you know, you have a properties committee and you'll have a budget and finance. It doesn't usually, nothing goes to just one person to get an answer or we want to do this. It goes through a lot of all of us as residents. I think as residents, we should get more involved and be able to contribute so that we can be heard. And just always protecting that reserve so that if you need to buy batteries for the golf cars or whatever, the money's there because it's all, every time, it's just earning a little more interest and it's saving up for that point when they will need to do that. Or if you need to paint a building, the money is already there because it's been reserved and growing.
Thank you. Ron?
At home, my wife and I have a budget that we work with, and we decide if we want to do something, and we look at each other, we nod, and it's done. That's our money. We spend it the way we want. I think the governing board has to be careful. It's not our money, it's your money. And we need to spend your money sensibly and responsibly. I think the repair and replace program we have is excellent. We time things out based on their value and their life expectancy, and they're replaced before they're broken, before it's going to cost more to replace it. I think our asset preservation fund is in great shape and needs to be maintained. We just have to remember as a board, this isn't our money, it's your money, and we're going to help you spend it in the best way possible.
Okay. Mike?
The primary purpose of the governing board is oversight, and the buck stops with us when it comes to spending the money. We either approve it or we disapprove it, or we let it move it down the road a ways. We're looking at doing the things that benefit the residents, and we also have to worry about the money a little bit because we only have so much to spend. The governing boards previous to this board now, you can go way back, and all of them have done a pretty darn good job of managing our money. There's no two ways about it. We've prospered. The other thing is committees the committees like properties and budget and finance, they may recommend certain projects. Rec centers may recommend certain projects. But ultimately, it's going to be the 9 members sitting up here that are going to decide, are we going to spend the money or are we not going to spend the money? And that's probably our most important thing that we're going to do is what are we going to do with the projects and how are we going to make it stretch out to the end of the game here, so thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will start off with Sandra. And that question is, what concerns have you heard from the community while campaigning and how would you address them?
In this community, you can hear quite a few things. I think everybody, it seems like, are always concerned about the money, the bottom dollar. And so that's what I appreciate, like I say, the different committees, before money is even thought about how it can spend, it's looked at of how we are preserving ourselves with the bigger picture. I think that growing because of the younger group coming in, that I can't attend that. I work during the day. I wish there was something at night. I appreciate the different clubs that are seeing that and willing to make that accommodation and do that. I'm going to have to change my bedtime from 8 o'clock at night. But I think, there's changes coming and it's coming relatively quickly. But we just need to be considerate of each other and be able to listen.
Okay. Ron?
The biggest thing that I hear when I'm out talking with members of the community is people ask me, did you know about this? Did you know about that? And these are all rumors that are circulating constantly about major events that are happening that are not happening. I talk about transparency and keeping the public informed. I think the rec center's really got to work hard at having it an easier way to quell some of these rumors. I don't know if we have to be more active on social media, because I think that's where a lot of that those rumors start. But the biggest problem that I hear people complaining about is the rumor mill. And I'd really like to work on making us more transparent and letting people know what's actually happening.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
Well, I'm a golfer, so we'll have to talk about golf for a little bit. There's always somebody complaining about, oh, this course is too tough, the rough is too tough, we need to change this, we need to change that. We don't like the grass, we're going to put new grass in, and then, of course, they put the new grass in, and then the people don't like it, and it just goes on and on and on. I think we have also had trouble, the pool decking is another one that's popped up. Pool decking, but I believe that is getting addressed very soon here. I think that's the next meeting, I believe. And of course, Kuntz, I always get, being a tennis guy, I hear about Kuntz all the time, but I think that's going to be addressed in the near future also. And I also hear about dirty courts, that they don't get cleaned enough. Well, this is awful dry country, and the wind blows, and the courts are down in the hole, and they just get dirty, and it's hard to get the dirt out of them. But I think overall, we've done a good job of, keeping up. It's just that, people like to talk about it, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan?
Thank you. It's a great question. I think when I was out campaigning and when I was out collecting my signatures and all of those things, probably the number one issue I got confronted on was one we've already talked about, and that is the future of PORA. The level of concern within the community was impressive. It gave me a very clear message that there's a viable path forward for PORA, and hopefully they can find what that path is. The second real area is access to information. A lot of talk about technology, about their ability to get information quickly, easily, and at their fingertips. And then, of course, the one that I heard quite a bit also was about affordability. We're all retired, and we're all retired at different levels of income, different levels of assets, and affordability, is a key driver for any one of us. And so making sure the general consensus I heard on this was I want you guys to do the things we need to do to keep this community great, but I want you to keep in the back of your mind that we also have the advantage of being a very affordable community. And so those were kind of the three big drivers that I heard as I was out campaigning.
Thank you. Our next question will start off with Sandra, or no, I'm sorry, with Ron, I beg your pardon. And that question is, board members are expected to serve on a committee. Which committee would you like to serve on and why? Ron?
Well, the Properties Committee has interest for me. I've been on property committees with some of the organizations I've been on. I've had a fair amount of experience with contracting, and so I think that I could handle that. I also really like the charter clubs. I'm involved in the charter clubs. I understand from the charter club side what problems and issues we have, as well as understanding now what the governing board has to do to work with the charter clubs. So it's a toss-up between charter clubs and properties.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
Well, I'm currently on the properties committees, so, and I have been there for 2 years. I might be interested in a third year. I really I've learned a lot about the community by being on the properties committee. We look in every nook and cranny in this whole town, and there's a lot of them. And we make up a list of recommendations, and Russ, he's real good about fixing things, and I like that committee. And but I would take pretty much any committee if I was asked to by whomever the president might be. Charter clubs is another one that, like Ron said, it's pretty interesting because you're dealing with clubs, and I am a club member. That would be an interesting committee also. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan?
I am willing to serve on any committee that the chair of the board desires. I believe that every one of our committees plays a critical role in the overall operation of the community, and so I don't have necessarily one that I would say I want to be on that one more than another. I'll give you an illustration of why I say that. When I was on the board pre my bike wreck, during my first year there, one of our members had to resign for health reasons, and he happened to chair the golf committee. And I was one of the few board members who didn't have a committee assignment yet. I also do not golf. And our board chair came to me and said, you know, this is a little unusual, but I'd like you to chair the golf committee. Well, I actually thought it was a phenomenal idea, and I thoroughly enjoyed the experience because I believe that all of our assets in this community are of great value. And I don't believe that you need to necessarily be a golfer or a whatever to be on a different committee. I believe that if you can bring the ability to listen, the ability to analyze problems, and the ability to think things through, then you can be an asset to whatever committee that you are involved in. And I'm prepared to serve on any one of them.
All right. Sandra?
I currently help with Charter Clubs Committee, and yesterday there was a meeting, and to me, their meetings are so uplifting because they'll have the different members that have gone out that are over certain clubs, and this one person, she reiterated all the different charitable things that are getting done by this club or that club. And it's a reminder of what a good place that this Sun City West is. You know, from there, I probably have a lot of interest myself in properties, just with what I've seen of what they do and what some of my past history is. But any of them are really great.
All right, thank you. Well, previously we asked you what you had heard from citizens while you were campaigning, but this next question is more about what issues do you feel we are facing in Sun City West that most need to be addressed? And this one will start with Mike. I'm sorry, with Ron. No, I was right the first time, with Mike. I'm a rookie.
No? Issues that I see. Well, obviously the pool decking is an issue. That's been an issue for a while, and I believe they have a solution, and we will hear it in the near future. Kuntz is also, I believe, is going to be addressed in the near future also, the getting it repaired or fixed up for some project. I've heard a little bit about irrigation systems on the golf course. Maybe that might get postponed, or maybe it might not. I'm not sure what way they're going to do it, but that is one that comes up a lot of times when we're at the golf course. That's it.
Okay. Alan?
I'm going to break this into two parts, short term and then longer term. Short term, I think my colleague Mike has already covered a couple of these. Absolutely the pool decks. And yes, the governing board is expecting to hear on the pool deck issue at the next workshop meeting. But that is a critical one. It's probably the one that residents have been very vocal, most vocal about, I think, this year. And also the tennis courts. We have a couple of courts over here at this beautiful facility just across the building from us, as well as the tennis courts over at Kuntz that we ultimately need to do something with. You know, one of my pet peeves is when we have an asset that is deteriorating and we don't respond to it. We need to respond to those things. Longer term, I think it's all the things we've already talked about. You know, how do we come out of the master plan and then effectively implement it? I think that's going to be a real challenge for the board, both next year as well as in the foreseeable future, is taking everything that all of you have told us during the master plan process and get it implemented in a way that most effectively does that and listens to all of your concerns. I think that's going to keep me up at that quite a bit over the next year or so.
All right, thank you. Sandra?
I think a challenging thing will be the communication going out to people to explain, you know, how we're following the master plan and how this happens here and here, because a lot of times things are driven by rumors and they're not even close to being true. We were speaking this morning and somebody said, did you know they're going to tear out the whole R.H. Johnson pool and redo it? Well, it's the pool decking that they're talking about. So there's little bits and snippets that I would encourage us to encourage other people to attend the governing board meetings, to be in the know, whether if you can't attend them, watch them online, and just that we all have an open dialogue.
Thank you. Ron?
Well, short term, like the others have mentioned, I think the pool decking is critical. The tennis courts at Kuntz, the platform tennis at R.H. Johnson all need to be addressed. But I think on a broader scale, the master plan will help us focus on what needs to be done first. In terms of smaller things, more general topics, technology, I've been harping on that. I think we've got to move along well with technology, but keep it simple. I think the rec center has been doing a good job, but needs to continue with certain events. I've gone to events at Palm Ridge where we're sitting at a table and there's a band playing and I'm talking with someone and I get shushed because I'm talking during the music playing. Well, the rec center came up with a bash, and the bash is talk, have fun, eat, drink, throw darts, play Jenga. You know, that's just a brand new concept, and I think it's working out well. So I think because of the changing demographics, we need to keep changing the types of events that we have, as well as I mentioned before, adjusting the hours of the rec center to make it feasible for our residents.
All right. And Mike?
Could you repeat the question?
Certainly.
Didn't I do? I already did it. No wonder.
I'm 0 for 3.
I thought I answered
Well, in that case, we start, it's a brand new question, I apologize. We will start with a brand new question, starting with Alan. I just got ahead of myself on marking my stuff off. I appreciate that. I'll get you later. All right, this will be the last question in this round. We will start with Alan, and the question is, would you support funds to be allotted in the 26-27 fiscal year budget to allow for quicker implementation on projects identified in the master plan that receive approval from the governing board? And I'll repeat it as much as I need to.
I knew at some point we'd get to the hard questions. That's a tough one, Ron, I'll be honest. What I would approve is looking at the things that are identified to be done. And if there is something that is urgent, and if the community really believes that it is urgent, because again, a lot of what we do and decide on is because we're told from the folks we represent. And if there's something in there that the community really believes is necessary and really believes is important and really believes should be done now, and we have the funding to do it, and we don't jeopardize our fiscal responsibility, I would be open to entertaining the idea. But I think that we have to be careful that we don't jump the gun, because we can make a case for everything, right? We do it at home all the time. I mean, the Amazon truck arrives every day at my house on important things that needed to be bought that day. But the reality is that we have to make sure that the things that we're saying are so urgent are truly urgent enough to spend that money now, rather than taking a more conservative approach. I hope that answered it.
Thank you. Sandra?
I too, I've mentioned a little bit about the different committees that we have. And just if there becomes an idea that people think we really, really, really need this, I want to know, again, is it fiscally responsible? Does it fit in with the overall plan and what we have, what we're thinking about for the future? And just be a little more pragmatic about things.
All right. Ron?
Could you repeat the question?
I knew someone would want that.
It's a long one.
Yes, it is. Would you support funds to be allotted in the 26-27 fiscal year budget to allow for quicker implementation on projects identified in the master plan that receive approval from the governing board?
The short answer, yes. But as Alan has mentioned, we need to prioritize to make sure that the funding is available and it's truly a timing issue. I'd need more information, but I'd be open to that as a suggestion.
All right. Mike?
There is no funding for a project like that in the current budget, so where do you get the money from? I would say no. They have their budget, I was just at the Budget and Finance Committee meeting yesterday, I believe, and they've got a list of stuff there that's a mile long, and they don't have a mile long of money. So I'd say, we have to be disciplined in this, everybody has a wish list. I'd like to have this done tomorrow, we'll get it done, and we'll get it done in a timely manner, but I don't think that moving it up that, they have to get funding for that wish list, and the master plan is not funded as of today, so I think we shouldn't do it.
Thank you. All right. Well, we've finished the first round of questions at this point, and it seems like it might be appropriate to take a few-minute break. So feel free to get up, and we'll reconvene back in about 7 or 8 minutes.
Hallelujah.
So we're going to have a little change up in the second round of questions. And in this section, we'll still continue in order, which means we'll start off with Sandra this time where we left off in the first section. But in this section, initial responses will still be 2 minutes, but each candidate will have an option to give a response to a question, not necessarily go online. So what will happen is I'll ask the question, Sandra will give a response, then I'll go down the line and ask Ron, would you like to comment on this, and so forth. And those making those additional comments afterwards will have 1 minute at that point. So we'll work under those guidelines. Everybody got that? Is it clear? Okay, very good. All right, then in starting off, our first question, and Sandra, you will be first. How would you strengthen communications within Sun City West?
You know, the last couple of years, I think that we've done remarkably well with communication and the things that are given to us, whether it's the different social medias that remind people that today's the talent day up at Kuntz or this or that or the other. But I think it just needs to continue. And I think having eventually the app on our phone where you could be just as easy as ordering from Amazon, but you click and you see, oh, well, today I could go do this, this, and this, you know. So I think we're progressing in that way, but we still keep one foot in front of the other.
Okay. Also, I'm going to ask, and Ron, I will get you, I should have said this beforehand. I'm going to ask the audience to please hold your applause until we're done with the round of questions. That way we can keep things flowing a little bit better. We're just seeing a little bit of hesitation, just want to keep things moving. So, Ron, I apologize. I didn't mean to take away from you, but
That's fine, thank you.
would you like to make a response?
Yes, I would, just a quick one. I think social media is important, and additionally, I think we could get, per Sandra's suggestion, notifications. I like text messages. They're quick. I look at them. And to get a text message saying, hey, don't forget there's a Budget Finance Committee meeting today. Hey, don't forget there's an event going on tonight at a particular rec center. You can opt in, opt out of those text messages. I think it's a nice, quick way to get information.
Okay. Mike, do you have a response?
I think you can get on GB and set it up where you have the notification sent to you on a regular basis. That's what I do. And that's a good program. I was at a governing board, or it was a general manager's operations meeting on Monday, and they talked about that half of the people just don't prefer to get any communications to speak of. And they also mentioned that I always thought the Independent was the main source of information, and they say the Rec Center News is the main source of information according to the questionnaire that we filled out, which kind of surprised me. But I think one other thing I think we could do is have more communication from the various groups that work with the governing board too. You know, we don't always get that.
Thank you.
My minute's up.
Alan?
Just very briefly, because I think all of the ideas expressed have been good. I've really enjoyed the increase in social settings where the governing board has been able to get out, the pop-up parties and things of that nature. I find some of my best conversations with residents come out of opportunities where I see them in a less formal setting and where we can talk more one-to-one and more in a casual environment. So more of those types of opportunities I think would be great.
Thank you. All right. Okay, our next question, and that will start off with Ron, is what methods would you use to bridge the gaps between the generations here in Sun City West?
What message?
What methods? Methods or tactics, something along like
Be
that.
kind, be patient, old to young, young to old. We just have to realize that we're in separate kind of mindsets, and we have to support each other.
Okay. Mike?
A lot of the club settings help bridge the gap because we're all working together there, and that seems to really help. A lot of times the younger people are helping some of the older people on the more challenging technology things, and a lot of times the older people are helping the younger people on being patient.
All right, Alan?
I think one is I don't feel a huge generation gap. When I think about my daughter who's 45 and in 10 years could live here. I think, as Ron pointed out and the others, I really like making sure that we're doing everything we can to include them and to also bring them into the fold and recognize that their challenges are a little different than ours in terms of their need to continue working and things like that. So we need to be including that in our thinking. But I think we need to welcome is really the ultimate conclusion. We have to welcome the next generation.
Okay. And Sandra?
I forgot what I was going to say. Mine's short. Okay, we're good.
All right. All right. Very good. All right, so we will move on to the next question. Mike, you will have the first opportunity to respond. And this question is, the Sun City West population is static. In your opinion, do we need to explore adding additional space for facilities?
We don't have any space for facilities to speak of. You know, there's been some talk about a church or something that is going under or something to that effect, but I think we have enough stuff as we sit right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Alan, anything?
I have nothing to add. I think it's a good answer.
Sandra?
I think still keeping your eyes open, because at different times, it would be nicer to have more parking up around Coons. I mean, not that you're going to find property up there for sale, but it's, again, just being aware of what's going on to where maybe you think that would be a good fit.
Okay. And Ron, anything to add?
No comment about, other than just to keep our eye open if anything develops.
Okay. All right. Next question, and we'll start off with Alan on this. What makes Sun City West stand out from other active adult communities in our area?
And you ask the historian the question, you're gonna have to hold that side up. We were built to be the gold standard. As simple as that. And we've maintained that. Everybody who comes here, and my wife and I were the same, you know, when we came out here, we looked at every new community and we looked at Sun City and we looked at Sun City West. It was clear once you got in and looked at the facilities, the amenities, the quality, the investment. Heck, we have a weaving club that has weaving machines. It became clear there was no contest. That's the competitive edge that we have to maintain.
Sandra, anything to add?
No.
Okay. Ron?
I'd give my minute to Alan because he's all fired up.
I'd like to hear that question one more time.
Certainly. Yeah, the question is, what makes Sun City West stand out from other active adult communities in our area?
Well, there's a lot of things. The golf courses. We have the nicest golf courses for the money I've ever seen. The tennis courts are the nicest courts in the West Valley, by far. And we also have the only platform tennis courts between Denver and California. And that's very, very unique. Nobody else has them even. So that's kind of an interesting
Okay.
thing.
Very good. Our next question, and Sandra, you'll get the first opportunity on this one. How do you feel about bringing public transportation to Sun City West?
I think public transportation is necessary. The person that I mentioned at the beginning, that she's lived here for 37 years, she goes, you know, I'm supposed to be dead. And I said, why is that? And she said, well, 2 years ago, my doctor said I was going to be dying. I sold my car, I sold my golf cart, and most of my dishes, but I'm still here. You know, but I was thinking later, you know, does the neighbor drive her over so she can monitor, or how does that work? I have another neighbor that recently had to get rid of her car, you know, and I think for an ease of public transportation for people that can't drive would be good and probably safer.
All right. Ron, anything to comment on?
Yeah, I've given that some thought recently, whether or not we should have some kind of loop system to go through, stopping off at the local stores and maybe an occasional loop down to the Walmart area, that kind of stuff. We certainly don't need any big buses. Small vans would be enough, but I think it's something worth exploring. Problem is who's paying for it.
All right. Mike?
I know it's been explored before and it hasn't gotten much traction, but I do think we do need it. A lot of the people are getting to the point where they're going to be unable to drive, and how do we satisfy their need?
Okay. And Alan?
In my work at the foundation, this is a huge issue. Public transportation, transportation for our community. And it's not just buses. It's the ability of people who can't get around, as Sandra pointed out, being able to get around. There is right now a survey going on. It's a group, if you Google Sun Cities on the Move, there is a group that is studying transportation needs in the two large Sun City communities, Sun City and then Sun City West. I would encourage people to go participate in that. I did, and get your voice to be heard. This is another great opportunity for PORA as well.
All right. Thank you. Our next question will be started off by Ron, and that question is, as a candidate, how will you balance dues with maintaining and improving our current facilities?
Well, I think we have to be aware of the cost of living. I wouldn't be opposed to setting a dues increase set to the cost of living. Everything's going up. I think dues would be appropriate to go up also, as compared to saying we need to do a major project, so dues have to go up X number of dollars to meet the expense. I think dues has to be set to cost of living and not cost of projects.
Okay. Mike, anything?
We're going to be approaching this very topic in the near future here, it looks like, and we're going to have to make that decision. Are we going to add to the dues in some way, shape, or form? Or are we not going to get our projects that we want to get done on the master plan? And I'm not so sure I know the answer.
Okay. Alan, anything?
I'm glad you got the hardest question. This is the age-old dilemma, right? We have to be cognizant that one of our key competitive advantages is affordability. And we have to balance that with the needs of the community. I think the real way we do that is listen to the residents and try to then take what they tell us and incorporate it. There's no easy answer on this one. I think we're seeing that by the looks on our faces.
And Sandra?
The fact if you're maintaining a reserve account, the money is going to be there when it becomes for a maintenance, so that's very important. But I agree, dues shouldn't be something that's kicked against. It should be something that's understood, and look around all the 55 years and older communities. It's very inexpensive to live here.
All right, thank you. Our next question, and Mike, you will have the first response to this. Tell us how you would respond to situations when your opinion is different than the majority of the governing board. And yes, to you, Mike.
I'd pout. No, we're going to have differences of opinion on the governing board. You see it from time to time, and we will take a vote, and what the vote is what we're going to have to live with, and I don't have a problem doing that.
Okay. Alan, anything?
When I was on school board in New Hampshire, my very first year, our board chair said to me, Alan, if we all get along and agree every single meeting, we only need a board of one. The advice I always took. I love that we all don't have the same ideas. And I agree with my colleague. At the end of the day, we take a vote, and when the decision is made, it is the board's decision. But we should always express our opinion.
All right. Sandra?
Expressing my opinion, however, supporting the majority on the board, I wouldn't want to create a divisive board. I think the board we have currently right now is really good. We're respectful of one another, and there are varying opinions. Like Mike had brought up, all of us are pretty unified too. So I am very positive about the board and in making their decisions.
All right. And Ron?
I concur with my colleagues.
All right. Thank you. All right, next question, and Alan, you will get the first response on this. What technology innovations do you believe can be improved or implemented here within Sun City West?
Clean up our website, really bring it up to date, make it easier to move through. I think they've done a good job with it, but it needs to be brought up to current standards. And I really like the idea of creating an app on your phone so that you can not just see what's going on with the community, you can manage your account, you can do all the things that you can do on your home computer, but be able to do it on your phone. So I think those are, if I were to pick the two technology things I would want to do quickly, those are the two things I would want to do quickly.
Sandra?
I have to agree with just what Alan says.
Okay, all right. Ron?
As do I, and I've mentioned it before, so.
Okay, fair enough. Mike, anything else?
I think the program we have where we measure our participation in the different clubs, et cetera, I don't think that's the best program. We've struggled with the information that we get out of it. I think we probably could upgrade that in some way, shape, or form.
All right, very good. All right, our next question, Sandra, you'll get the first opportunity on this. Compliance with CC&Rs protect the character of Sun City West and the value of our neighborhoods. What are your thoughts regarding the current level of compliance and enforcement?
You know, Sun City West is kind of a large area for one CC&R person to drive around to try to find maybe infractions. I think as a community, we need to be respective of what the CC&Rs are. And I think that you need to work with your neighbors if you see something that maybe they're starting to build something that might not be the best, you know, without having to escalate it right off. And I think just keep doing what we're doing.
Okay. Ron?
I think the CC&Rs are a valuable component to our community. I've had a couple of people suggest to me that the CC&R complaint form should be anonymous. People are hesitant to complain about their neighbors. That's my only addition.
All right. Mike?
Pora used to do this, and now our people are doing it. I think we're doing a better job than Pora did, but it's that time of the year when the weeds are popping up, so we're struggling a little on that, but we always do, you know, if there's any kind of rain, so.
Okay. Alan?
I have nothing to add. I agree with the answers.
Okay. All right, well, these last few questions that we have are questions that have been submitted to us from our audience here. And again, thank you for those of you who have sent these down to us. And we'll start off with Mike on this one. And the question that we have from our audience is, although the board has no official role in the BNSF Rail Hub, will you share your position on this?
Well, I worked for the Burlington Northern Santa Fe for over 40 years up north. I think that place will be built, you know, whether we like it or we don't like it. I also think that they are exploring alternate routes to move the traffic through this area, you know, like moving it over towards the 17 and coming down that way. I've heard that. The BNSF is building that place primarily because of the California issues, I'm sure. You know, California's plugged, and they have to do something with all that container traffic that's coming in through Long Beach. So they could maybe build it somewhere else, but, you know, I think the wheels are pretty far down the road already, you know. So I think it's probably going to happen, whether we will like it or not, but I could be wrong, you know.
Okay. Alan, anything to add?
I think the real challenge is not just BSNF. I think you hit on it. The real challenge we also really need to be concerned about is what is going to happen with this traffic configuration out here at 303 and Grand Avenue. And how will that impact the community, both in terms of noise and proximity of roadways to houses and things of that nature? I think our biggest threat right now is this traffic issue. And I think, the steps they take to solve it and how will those impact our community. I do agree we need to watch BSNF, but I think we really need to be cognizant of what's happening right outside our front gate.
Sandra?
I agree with what Alan says. It's important that you don't grow faster than you're accommodating what the traffic needs are. So I think that, and I think being in touch with what's going on with the railroad and standing up and making a point where you can still have a workaround. I do think it's going to get built, but, keeping abreast with what they're doing.
Okay. Ron?
Well, I think the voice of the people are going to make that decision.
Okay. One thing I forgot to mention in this round, a little differently, we drew number lots for who starts off, so we won't. It won't be as it had been, but we will give everybody a chance to respond. In light of that, Sandra, you are going to be first one up on this next question. No, it wasn't planned that way.
Way to confuse us.
Well, I was getting a little bit, sleepy here and
Bored.
Just wanted to change things up. Anyway, okay, so Sandra, you'll get the first opportunity on this question, and that question is, how do you build trust with your team and with residents?
I think just being flat out honest. I would rather someone come and tell me, like if it's my neighbor in a CCR violation, instead of it being anonymous, knock on my door and say something, to where I just think that open communication, and I would grant other people the same thing. It might sting a minute, but you always know kind of where you're at.
Okay. Ron?
Well, when you hear the question, I'm trying to rush to get an answer ready. And the first word that I come up with is the first word that Sandra came up with, honesty.
Okay. Sounds simple.
I'd like to hear it again.
Certainly. How do you build trust with your team and residents?
Take them all to happy hour. Just kidding, of course. Well, I think we already have a little trust amongst ourselves here because we've, being candidates and having to do a lot of the same meetings and issues, I think, just the communication amongst ourselves has been really good, and I think it's probably just communication.
All right. Alan?
Listen, be honest, and be yourself. I think those are the three things.
All right, then. All right. Next question, and Ron, you'll get the first response to this question. What skills make you a strong fit for the role of being on the governing board?
I've been on a lot of boards. I've been president of several boards. I understand the hierarchy and the respect for the different offices. I respect listening to everybody's opinion, let everybody be heard, and weigh their opinions and thoughts carefully before making any decisions.
Okay. Mike?
I'll hear the question again, please.
Certainly. What skills make you a strong fit for the role of being on the governing board?
Well, my work history, I had most of my railroad career was a manager doing essentially the same thing that the general manager does in this community. So I have experience in operations. I've been involved in a lot of the clubs, and I've enjoyed that, and I think that's helped prepare it, and also the committees. Working on the committees is a very good pre-preparation for this job.
Okay.
When I was a young man, just beginning my professional life, my dad said to me, "In everything you do, Alan, remember this, only you can give away your integrity." It's been my guiding principle ever since. I think that's you know, that's sort of been my philosophy, and I'll bring that to the governing board.
Sandra?
I'm good at thinking, I'm good at listening, and also at analyzing. And so I think that's been helpful to me the past year.
I know.
But also of just even discerning, like we'd mentioned, you know, some of the stories that you might get told in Sun City West, with realizing, okay, that might not be accurate.
All right, thank you. All right, this next question, Alan, you'll get the first response from this. Describe a time when you improved a process.
I don't like to go to work experience because I believe that when we move into a retirement community, we're all retired and we're now all equals. But, and I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but because it would be about insurance and no one really cares about that. But I had the opportunity to completely redesign how we conducted our entry-level training when I was in my career at Liberty Mutual, and was given great latitude. And we got together a group of people. We put our heads together. We came up with a proposal. We mapped it all out, and then we piloted it. And it turned out to be a really great success. It was facing a lot of the challenges we face here. How do we take a long 6-week in-person program and leverage technology to make it more efficient, better, and make it stronger and make the results stronger? And I felt like we accomplished it. It was a great experience. One of the highlights of my career and looking back on it.
All right, Sandra.
You know, I think read me the question one more time.
Certainly. Describe a time when you improved a process.
You know, a lot of it, and I was thinking about this when Alan was talking, is being a part of a committee or a group that comes up with solutions. It's amazing how none of us have all the right answers, but just being respectful and listening to one another and paying attention.
All right, Ron.
I'm not going to mention any specific processes. When you're the organizer, the head of an organization or a business, you come up with a plan, how things are going to happen as a supervisor. And when the person who's actually doing the job looks at you and says, why? Makes you stop and think, okay, I guess we don't have to do it that way. Your way is better. So I'm always willing to listen to the operator of the task and use their input to make the systems better.
All right. And Mike?
I was a president of a club here in Sun City West, and our dues were $5 many years ago. And we weren't doing very well financially, of course. And I proposed raising the dues to $15, and after a lot of arguing and fighting, they did raise the dues to $15, and we are financially well off today.
All right, then. All right. So this is our last question for the forum, and we'll start off with Mike on this. And the question is, from your bios, we know that you have all attended Torch. The last Torch class was canceled due to lack of participation. Why do you think that residents are no longer interested, and what can be done to encourage participation? Mike, you've got your first.
I have not attended Torch.
I beg your pardon.
I graduated from the School of Hard Knocks for 15 years, is where I got my education on the properties committees. I'm not sure why it's not doing it, because I haven't ever done it, you know. But I think there's a need for some sort of program. It just may need to be redone.
Okay, all right. Alan?
It's a great question. Torch is a phenomenal program. I went through it and immediately joined the Torch committee right afterwards because I was so impressed with it. I think it's all the issues that we've talked about here today. The reality is the demographics of people coming into our community are changing. More and more of them are working. Torch is really targeted towards that well, all residents can participate. It's really targeted towards those folks who are relatively new to the community to really start to understand how Sun City West operates and what makes it unique. We've got to adapt it to work around working hours. We've got to increase the awareness of it. And we have to leverage technology so that we can create a new torch that meets people the way they want to learn today.
All right. Sandra?
And again, he covered it. No, but I think having it, the option possibly of being able to watch a YouTube or something, and then maybe you meet every 3 weeks or something like that, because the younger people, like I said, a lot of them still work. They don't have that day they can give up for 5 or 6 weeks.
All right. And Ron?
I think a few things, making it more well-known that it's out there and the benefits of it. Perhaps this torch that was canceled could have been pushed off a little bit. Maybe it was too close to the previous one. But I agree with the scheduling. It could be a scheduling and technology issue where it runs perhaps on a weekend or a few evenings a week, and or some kind of video YouTube situation.
All right, thank you. Well, that's it for the questions, and now candidates, you'll each have an opportunity for closing remarks, and as we open the forum, we will end it the same way. Alan, you have a first opportunity, and you'll have 4 minutes for your remarks.
Thank you. I won't take 4 minutes. I first want to thank the folks in the audience who came today. I want to thank the folks who submitted questions as well. This is really the backbone of how our community operates, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and to speak to all of those who are watching online as well. You know, I opened this when I introduced myself, and I said, I really like the colleagues that are with me today. I really like this group of people. And as you've seen, we have one thing in common with each other, a really serious commitment to Sun City West. I think every one of us is up here because we really value this community and we like it. And I think you also saw that we have some differing ideas, and I look forward to that as well. The ability to discuss issues, the ability to not always agree, but ultimately come to consensus and agreement is, I think, the real way that the board works most effectively. I really do look forward to the opportunity to serve the community again on the governing board. I look forward to all of your support in pursuing that endeavor. And I really look forward to working with you to implement the master plan, as we move out of this master planning process, and to do all the great things to keep this community as one of the top-notch retirement communities in the country. Thank you very much, and thank you for hosting this.
Thank you. Sandra?
I think it's a good thing that we have committees, otherwise we wouldn't have much of an audience today. No, I appreciate each of your support and for being here. I will continue to look for the greater good and to think and to weigh things that maybe aren't what my thought was, to see where value can be in that. I've appreciated this last year. It's gone very quickly serving on the governing board, and I feel like I've got a lot more to learn, and I look forward to continuing on in this process.
Thank you. Ron?
Thank you, the committee. Those of you who have suffered through this event today. I think the people watching at home, probably watching at a different time with an adult beverage, makes it a little more tolerable. I was struck today by, this is the first opportunity that we've had to sit as a group of 4, not a group of 9, to think about things. And when a subject comes up, we all have our predetermined vote on the matter. And I found it interesting listening to these people at the dais with me. I said, I never thought of that. That's an interesting point. And it's made me realize that I think this is going to be easier than I thought, that it's not all up to me, it's up to us to work as a team, and for me to listen to what they're saying and appreciate their points of view. And I think we're all going to work well together. And thank you very much for your support.
And Mike?
Likewise, I'd like to thank all of the people that came today, especially the committee, especially Kathy for all the work she's done. I've been to several of her meetings, and she does a very good job. She was an old properties gal. Or, well, as far as seniority. I qualified that real quick. The thing I've been here almost 16 years now, and I've been on the committees. I've been president of a club. I've been vice president of a club. I've been on the boards. I go to a lot of meetings. I'm considered a regular at the meetings, I would say by now. I think I have a fairly good idea how things work. It's funny, I worked on the railroad for a long time, and I was a manager for about half of the time. And it's funny how the railroad and the operations here are very similar. It's pretty amazing. You know, you wouldn't think that. One thing I want to stress is I'm here to represent the people of the community. I think that's important. You know, that gets lost in the translation around here a little bit sometimes. And I want everybody to understand that is should be our number one goal. Also, the thing that isn't talked about too much is being on this board, we're to provide oversight. And that's our job, and that's probably our primary job here. And sometimes I don't think it's always a perfect match necessarily. And I also I want us to spend our money wisely on our needed projects. You know, sometimes somebody identified a project, we went and did the project, and come to find out we probably shouldn't have done it. You know, I mean, we don't always, you know, we're not always perfect in how we do those things. I think overall, though, the community's done a very good job overall, and I look forward to helping the next year or 3 years, however it goes. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that ends our candidate. Please, yes.
So thank you to our candidates for doing the forum and for stepping up and agreeing to run for the governing board. I know it's a really time-consuming endeavor, but we certainly appreciate all of your efforts. And I'd like to thank Martin back there for doing the technology and making sure we're all video recorded. And to all of you in the audience who have come, it's really important that we hear from our residents and that our candidates know what our residents are thinking. So I appreciate all of that. So I want to remind everybody our next event is the meet and greet, where you'll have the opportunity to meet candidates one-on-one. And that is on Wednesday, March 18th at Palm Ridge Summit Hall from 6 to 8 p.m. Remember, in addition this year to electing candidates for the governing board, there are bylaws on the ballot. So you'll want to make sure you're familiar with those. We encourage you to sign up for online voting, which starts March 16th. Details can be found on the Sun City Web website. Online voting is open from March 19th to the 26th. And then our big day in-person voting is on Monday, March 30th from 9 to 3 in the Data Resource Center at the library. And that is all for now. Thank you very much again for coming. I appreciate it. Bye now.